I shot an entire feature film with mainly this lens. The TTArtisan 17mm f1.4. It's a small micro 4/3 lens with a nice metal build. The optics are clean and the focus and aperture rings are pretty smooth. It's completely manual. My initial thoughts when purchasing this lens was that it wasn't going to be that good. I was looking for a lens that was wider than the Super Takumar 28mm that I own, which is about a 56mm. I wanted at least a 35mm field of view, and I didn't want to rent the Sigma 18 and 35 every week or for a month, so I decided I would just find the fastest, widest prime I could and pair it with my 50mm Takumar. It's not that easy finding a budget wide-angle lens with a fast aperture. I was stoked to find this one goes down to 1.4 just like my Takumar. The main issue that wasn't even that big of an issue was color matching, since the Takumar is slightly warmer, so shooting RAW helps with that. It does get soft at f1.4 and cause some aberrations, but what $100 lens doesn't. It does sharpen up a lot between like f1.8 and f2. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for getting the sharpest and most depth of field that you can without getting that bloomy look. Anywhere from 2 to f4 you'll be fine, and it's pretty cleanly sharp. I really only take it down to f1.4 if I'm going for like that look, and specifically for this film that I shot, we was going for like a look, like a film look. I added center print 16 onto that and shooting at f1.4, and now looking back on the computer, it actually really helped a lot with that bloom. And I was wondering why I wasn't really adding too much like glow. I'm like, it really already has a glow, and that was really coming from just shooting wide open at f1.4. Everything gets super soft and hazy, but you know, that's kind of the look you're going for when you're going for the film look to some degree. Though it doesn't have much character, and with less lens compression than a longer focal length, things don't really stand out. You know, it just doesn't have super strong characteristics when you're shooting wide open. It does look pretty good though. It's a cheap lens with a fast aperture. That's all you need to know. And that's all I needed to know in order to shoot this film with this lens. Because like I said, I knew in the grade I was going to do a film emulation, and that was going to be the bulk of what gave the film its visual character. So I went in thinking it would be something I was probably going to use on wider shots and establishing shots. Once I began using it and seeing how fast and effectively you can move around and get close-ups, how it remains just sharp enough at f1.4, at least looking back on my monitor, and only slightly softening up the image. I use this for like 90% of the film and use a Takumar for that 10% of capturing some shots that needed to be emphasized, which worked out pretty well. The best way to describe this lens is, for me at least, it's the nifty 35mm for the micro 4/3 mount. I will say a part of being wary of buying these lenses were checking out the reviews. They're not that great, and there aren't many reviews with people using this lens with a micro 4/3 camera for video, specifically for filmmaking. People have also said that the image at f1.4 and some even at f2 are super soft, almost soft to the point where they think they're doing something wrong with focusing. I've also seen some people say that there's a rainbow halo thing that happens when you point it at a bright source, which I have saw a rainbow a few times very faintly in the grade. It's not so noticeable. Apparently others say that it's a big distraction for them. So I didn't have those two experiences with this lens. So just be wary of that. There may be some faulty ones out there. I think it's a way better nifty 50 lens than the kit Panasonic 25mm f1.7, which is a 50mm or micro 4/3 of course, especially if you're filmmaking. It also costs a little less, so why not give it a go? The manual focusing is also 10 times better than focus by wire in my opinion. Also, the slightly more expensive Laowa 17mm f1.8 is also an option that seems to have that Laowa brand name rep for being pretty good. That's really all I wanted to share in this review. My experience with this lens is that it's not perfect, it's not the sharpest, but it got the job done. If you're a micro 4/3 user that is missing or maybe wanting to try out shooting from a more standard 34 to 35 millimeter prime range, I'd say give it a try. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll subscribe and learn something from more of my mistakes. See you in the next one.